hand the conference over to Mr. Hardik Sangani from ICICI Securities. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you, Nirav. Good evening, everyone. I would like to welcome everyone to Route Mobile Q4 FY21 earnings conference call. I would like to thank the management of Route Mobile to give us the opportunity for hosting the Q4 earnings call. We have with us the leadership team from Route Mobile, Mr. Rajdeep Gupta, Managing Director and Group CEO, Mr. Gautam Badalia, Chief Strategy Officer, Mr. Suresh Jankar, Chief Financial Officer, Mr. John Owen, CEO Europe and Americas, and Mr. Milind Pathak, Chief Business Officer. Before we begin, I would like to remind you that some of the statements made in the today's earnings call may be forward-looking in nature and may involve certain risk and uncertainty. Kindly refer to slide number 2 of the presentation for the detailed disclaimer. I will now request Mr. Rajdeep to provide brief remarks on the company's performance and future outlook before the management team walks us through the financial details of Q4 FY21 results. Over to you, Rajdeep, sir.
Thanks, Hardik. Good evening, everyone. I hope all of you and your families are safe during this unprecedented time. I believe we all have been hit hard in some way or another by this last wave, but we all continue to power through as things get better, especially with the vaccination drive. From a company standpoint, while we always hope for the best, we also always prepare for the worst. Such preparedness has ensured that our business has been resilient to the current crisis, and we had very limited impact on our business continuity perspective. Our teams continue to function normally around the clock and the business as usual for our customer and partners. As a leading global CPaaS company, our business model and practices backed by the increased digital adoption by enterprises have fueled our superlative growth in financial year 21. We continue to witness very strong momentum moving in FY22. To help fuel our growth into the Western Hemisphere, we have added Mr. John Owen to the RML team as a CEO for Europe and Americas. John's track record speaks for itself, and he is going to be instrumental as we expand globally. Under his leadership, we will increase our team strength in Europe and Americas to ensure we have a presence and skill set to serve the big enterprise clients within various other regions. We continue to invest in our infrastructure to ensure it's robust, efficient, and scalable. At a moment of notice, we are continuously enhancing our security measures to ensure that we protect our customer data at all times. With these and other future initiatives planned, the future is looking brighter than ever for RML and for all our stakeholders. As a publicly listed company, we firmly believe that we are responsible to all stakeholders, including employees, customers, and the environment. Thus, we are committed to integrate various environmental, social, and governance ESG consideration into our business decision-making processes across all services and product offerings to positively impact the environment, our customer, employees, and the community at large. At RML, ESG initiatives and principles will be aligned to our CSR initiative, which would complement with our strategic goals in terms of services we seek to offer our stakeholders. The ESG policy framework will serve as a guiding document to all our CSR initiatives and other operational activities undertaken by us, and will integrate it to the operations of our subsidiaries and associates across the globe. With respect to the inorganic growth, we acquired TeleDNA operator Stack in FY21 to bolster our operator offering with 365 Squared. Further, we have recently signed definitive agreement to acquire Phonon. This acquisition will help transition our journey from CPaaS to CXPaaS, providing one-stop shop solution to our customer for any and all communication channel in the core component of our success, and we further enhance our offering with Phonon Suite. In terms of our financial performance for FY21, we have overachieved whatever we had promised during our IPO. We have demonstrated an industry-leading revenue growth of 47% in FY21, coupled with significant expansion of margin, especially the margin expansion in Q4 21 is noteworthy. The business has also demonstrated very strong free cash flow generation in FY21. Despite the uncertain times and the brutal second wave, we continue to be very optimistic about our business prospects. We will endeavor to achieve over 20+% revenue growth rate in FY22. With this, I request Gautam and team to highlight our financial performance for Q4 FY21 and FY21. Over to you, Gautam.
Thank you, Rajdeep. Good evening, everyone. Hope you and your family are safe and fine during this uncertain and unprecedented times. Just as an update, we have already uploaded our earnings presentation on our website as well as on the stock exchange websites. Hope you had a chance to go through the presentation. I'll quickly summarize our financial performance for the year gone by and in Q4 FY21 before we open the floor for Q&A. Just as a backdrop, we have been facing this unprecedented crisis for over a year now. And as an organization, I must say, we have been very agile, resilient, and adaptive in our approach. Our strong financial performance in FY21 is a testimony to that, coupled with the strong industry tailwinds, wherein we've kind of witnessed enterprises rapidly adopting digital technologies. We believe such rapid migration to digital technologies is here to stay. And as a leading global CPaaS company, there is a big runway for growth. With that, I'll kind of touch upon the key takeaway from the quarter gone by. So in terms of the key takeaway from our financial performance in Q4 FY21, it has been the rapid expansion of our gross margin from 18% in Q3 FY21 to 22% in Q4 FY21. So as highlighted in Q3 FY21, I think we had taken some hit on account of the increase in cost owing to DLT. In this quarter, we have been able to pass through the increase in cost owing to DLT to our customers, which has been a big contributor for such gross margin expansion. However, a word of caution, since this DLT implementation is a structural change, and as we speak, there are still some teething issues from an enterprise standpoint, the overall industry volumes may get impacted in the short term. But from a long-term perspective, it really augurs well for the industry. From our international revenue perspective, the volumes in certain markets like LATAM and select markets in Middle East and Africa were impacted in Q4 FY21 owing to the brutal second wave. So that kind of led to some volumes coming off in some of these markets. And from an overall billing perspective in the quarter, this quarter had 2 less days than the previous quarter. So, and since our business model is on a transaction basis so that those 2 days kind of attributed to some fall in the revenue in the quarter vis-a-vis the previous quarter. We continue to witness very strong momentum on the next generation products, and we believe our pursuit of focusing on the next generation products through a dedicated team. So we have Milind from the team who heads the next generation of the products initiative from our side. So this dedicated team drives the organic growth, and that coupled with our inorganic strategy will drive our margin expansion further. The recent acquisition of Phonon, subject to meeting certain closing conditions, is a step in that direction. With this backdrop, let me walk you through our financial performance. So in terms of our Q4 performance, revenue from operations grew by 36.4% from 2658 million in Q4 FY20 to 3624 million in Q4 FY21. However, there was a sequential degrowth of 5.8% due to the reasons mentioned above. Essentially, some markets like LATAM and Middle East and Africa getting impacted marginally. Further, in terms of our history, so just wanting to highlight one important aspect. So historically, from our trends, Q3 always happens to be the best quarter, and Q4 usually is the second best quarter. So, from a sequential degrowth perspective, while some of those other markets could have attributed better to the growth, but we are reasonably satisfied with the kind of growth that we have garnered in Q4 FY21. In terms of some key stats, billable transactions decreased marginally from 8.81 billion in Q3 FY21 to 8.76 billion in Q4 FY21. And average realization per billable transaction decreased from rupees 0.437 paisa in Q3 FY21 to 0.414 paisa in Q4 FY21. And this largely is on account of change in country mix. Gross profit margins expanded from 17.7% in Q4 FY20 and 18% in Q3 FY21 to 22%. So there was a sharp increase in the gross profit margin for reasons articulated above. EBITDA grew by a whopping 105% from 251 million in Q4 FY21 to 515 million in Q4 FY21. EBITDA margin expansion from 9.5% in Q4 FY20 to almost 14.2% in Q4 FY21. Similarly, adjusted profit for tax grew by 127% from 174 million in Q4 FY20 to 394 million in Q4 FY21 as compared to 416 million in Q3 FY21. Adjusted PAT margin again expanded from 6.5% in Q4 FY20 and 10.6% in Q3 FY21 to 10.9% in Q4 FY21. Moving on to the financial year FY21 performance. Revenue from operations, as Rajiv highlighted, we demonstrated our industry-leading growth of 47% from 9,563 million in FY20 to 14,062 million in FY21. In terms of certain KPIs, billable transactions increased from 30.32 billion in FY20 to 32.31 billion in FY21. Average realization per billable transaction increased from rupees 0.315 paisa to rupees 0.435 paisa during the same period. We had a net revenue retention of 140+% in FY21. There was zero churn in our top 50 customers, which accounted for 86% of our revenue in FY21. We added about 410 new customers during the financial year. Gross profit margin on a full year basis, steadied around 20% for both the financial years. EBITDA grew by 76% from 1 billion in FY20 to 1.75 billion in FY21. In terms of operating leverage, EBITDA as a percentage of gross profit expanded from 52% in FY20 to 63.4% in FY21. So this was reflected in the expansion of EBITDA margin as well from 10.5% in FY20 to 12.5% in 21. In terms of ETR, the effective tax rate for 21 was 17.8% versus 16.1% in FY20. Adjusted profit for tax grew by 84% from 799 million in FY20 to 1469 million in FY21, thereby leading to expansion of PAT margins from 8.3% to 10.3% in the same period. The net cash as on 31st March 2021 was 4642 million. We demonstrated very strong free cash flow generation, something that we have transitioned over the last 2 years. So cash flow from operations to EBITDA was 131% in FY21 as against 94% in FY20. We onboarded 91 new RML lights, so 91 new hires despite the pandemic, including few senior management hires. Attrition rate has steadied and kind of fallen from 19% in FY20 to 11% in FY21. And in terms of, I think the board has proposed a dividend of 2 rupees per equity share of par value rupees 10 each, so a 20% dividend rate. So that's a quick update on the financial performance of Q4 FY21 and FY21 full year. So with this, we open the floor for Q&A.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and one on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and two. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. Participants, you may press star and one to ask a question. The first question is from the line of Hardik. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. So I have a couple of questions. Firstly, in terms of John getting inducted to Innova management, so just wanted to know how are we placing and what are our plans for this year in terms of customer acquisition in Europe and Americas, and what if there are any investments which we will be requiring? Secondly, in terms of the weakness which was there in Q4, in particular in terms of LATAM and some African nations, so do we expect that to continue going ahead as well in near term? And thirdly, sir, the net retention rate is quite healthy at 140% actually. So do we see that coming off in next year to a normal, and what can be the normalized level which can be expected? Sir, last question in terms of the client to growth which has been shown in PPT, like 7% CAGR growth over last 3 years. So just wanted to check why the client has a below average growth and how it will have it any impact going forward. Thank you. I have more questions, but I'll come back in the follow-up.
No, thanks, Hardik. Let me start with, and I think then John and Gautam can also pitch in. So in terms of, I think the volume degrowth, if you see, like we as a company, I think in last quarter started focusing more on the gross margin, and I think the gross margin increase is a key for RML in coming quarters also. And we will try to focus more on increasing our gross margin with some kind of focusing more on a product line of voice, WhatsApp, RCS, or this kind of offering. I think if you talk about our investment plan in Europe or the US, I think we are definitely looking out to increase our strength in terms of people. And since John has joined in UK now, we will build definitely a very dedicated sales team in UK, Europe, as well as in US. That's what I can say. Apart from that, I think we also let some of the customer go because of their low margins. Like in last quarter. Because their volume was a little bit high, but their margin was very low. So I think we preferred not to serve those kind of customer in this quarter, which led to our gross margin degrowth. So as a company, I think we would like to give guidance to all our stakeholders that we will focus more on our gross margin increase in coming days rather than just volume increase. Gautam, you can add.
Thanks, Rajiv. So, Hardik, I think you had a query on net retention rate of 140%. So historically, for the last 2-3 years, we have kind of been witnessing a net retention rate of over 120%. So from that perspective, since we are servicing a lot of these quality customers through a world-class platform, unless there are some structural changes that happen in the industry, we don't see this net retention rate coming off in a big way. There is a high degree of stickiness with the clients that we kind of work with. In terms of the specific reference to a client where you refer to that growth rate being 7%. So essentially, if you look at that particular client, that client is one of the largest social media companies, and we've been kind of servicing them for over now 4 years. And the client continues to grow, and it has reached a stage of maturity at this point in time. But having said that, as Rajiv highlighted, John will help us kind of penetrate into newer markets in US, LATAM, and Europe. So that is where we kind of envisage the next leg of growth coming in for that particular client. So Hardik, does that answer all your queries now?
I will. I have more questions, but I'll come back in the follow-up.
Sure. And John, want to add something up here too?
Yeah, John.
Yeah, sure. Welcome to everybody, and I've been here 24 hours and I've had a warm welcome, so thank you. What I will say to the numbers, and it's obviously very early for me, but the reason I joined Route Mobile is because the fundamentals are incredibly good. Great market, it's going to grow, and great team, and we are creating value, and I think that's what CPaaS is going to do, particularly when you're driven by things like the Internet of Things and 5G. We create value, new business models. So I think what we've got to do when we started on that transition is move our revenue profile, as the guys have just talked about, into those more enterprise customers on a global basis, particularly into those more mature markets where we can attract a better revenue profile. And there's been a conscious decision by the team to move away from the commoditized stuff, which is good for revenue, but not good for margin. What I will say in my 24 hours is our ability to compete and win is really strong. So it's now about allocating the capital of our business into the markets we want to grow in, the products we want to go in. And if you look at some of the slides, the impact we've had from new product revenue within the last 3-4 quarters is really strong, and that momentum will continue. But it comes down to building an executable plan and making some conscious decisions about which markets, which products, and where we want to put our money. But we do have the ability to both organically grow and accelerate that within an inorganic play. So for me, massive upside. It's about moving the company and transforming it as we operate. But you look at the fundamentals year on year, really strong. And next year, there's no reason why that wouldn't be any different as the guidance suggests. So I'm pleased to be here, but it's a bit early to give you some material direction.
No, thanks, John. Milind, if you can on the new product side. Milind?
Milind, sir, may I request you to unmute your line from your side and go ahead?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Yes.
Hi, thanks. Thanks, Rajdeep. I think from a new product perspective, in the last 3 months, we have progressed well. We have structured in a very careful manner. We have done a detailed analysis of product market fit, right from what messaging channel is prominent in which continent and which country. We are very, very clear about it. And the product teams are, as we speak and as the days and the weeks goes on, are ensuring that we're able to deliver a product market fit for a client in that relevant geography with the channel of his choice. So if in some market Viber is more popular, or Facebook Messenger is more popular, or RCS is more popular, or MMS is more popular, we are equipped to handle that delivery and the terminations of a channel for our client. Not only that, we have also strengthened our email offering. We have also strengthened multiple offerings within marketing automation. And as the quarter rolls in, as we roll into the new year, we are continuously pushing our sales guys with more and more products into their arsenal. So I think overall our product roadmaps is quite well defined and quite healthy for our sales people across the geographies to kind of go sell or upsell or cross-sell to either our existing clients or find and hunt new clients, both the perspectives. Thanks.
Yes, thank you. That's it from.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Varun Goenka from Nippon India. Please go ahead.
Yes, good evening. Thank you for the opportunity, and congratulations to Route Mobile team on very good FY21 despite all the chaos going around. Welcome, John, to come aboard. I think the least we expect is that you just continue what you did at Mastech, and let's hope this is just a new beginning. So I had 2 broad questions, Mr. Gupta. Gautamji, is I think our presentation has added a few additional details. Thank you for so much for that. Is our aging analysis of the working capital. But what I wanted to understand was in terms of our sectoral mix of revenues, either from technology, BFSI, or different sectors that we look at. Where does the composition stand today? And if we could have some insight and opinion from you as to what is the volume growth in each of the sectors? What are the drivers of gross margins there for the next 3-5 years? That would be exciting to understand from a long-term perspective.
So thanks, Varun. We'll definitely try to take care of this maybe in our next presentation. But Gautam, if you can just add on this.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Varun. So I've done some basic analysis. I think I'll tell you, so largely, the revenue comes to, so the top 15 clients, which accounts for close to 45-50% of the revenue. So largely, the revenues would be split between internet and social media companies. BFSI would form a big chunk of this concentration. We have OEMs and handset manufacturers. we have retail industries, and fortunately this time, we also have one travel and aviation company. So it is kind of widespread, but we kind of make a note of your point, and we'll try and ensure that we give some flavor of industry verticals and the volumes across these industry verticals in our subsequent presentations.
Okay, so just to further, dig into this, which industries, had the maximum impact of this DLT regulations, and how are they shaping up towards normalization? And of course, my third point of where are the areas of gross margin improvement?
Sure.
What are the key drivers of gross margin improvement? Yeah.
Sure. Let me just answer that question.
Yeah, sure.
First of all, I think when you talk about the DLT implementation and the impact, so I think DLT has impacted almost every segment in India. Like when the initial implementation was done, and it was a chaos. In fact, like OTP was not delivered for a day or two, and all of a sudden the TRAI has to roll back the whole, guidelines. But I think the impact initially to share, it has impacted almost all the verticals. But the major one is like your banking sector during that time. And I think it took almost 15 to 20 days to make sure everything goes normal. And we do see now things are getting better. And I think if not 100%, but at least 90 to 95%, I think the proper implementation of DLT, and most of the enterprises, they adopted the DLT, guidelines. And in terms of our gross margin, if you see, so DLT is definitely playing a big role. Apart from that, some of the OTT players, where we have increased the cost for the OTT players, and we believe that instead of going for the lower margin with OTT players, it's better to focus more on the quality of services and give them a better service and better delivery. And in spite of that, we increase the cost for some of the OTT player, and we are seeing more traffic because of the quality of services which we are offering to them. And I think the OTT player price increase plus the DLT has played a very big role in terms of our margin growth.
Okay, I get it. And if there is any comment on the firewall company 365 Squared or our DLT possibly are getting into the DLT platform side, so that will also help.
Right. There is also a revenue, I think, margin increase because of our firewall algorithm has been modified, and I think from last 6 months, I think our team is working very closely with various operators where we have deployed a firewall. And just to give one of the African operators, our revenues is increased almost 16% in last quarter by just putting a new algorithm of filtering. And just to share with you all, our BSNL firewall is almost live with West Zone, and North Zone we are going live within a week's time. So I think that is also a good sign where it will add more revenue potential to RML in coming quarters.
Right. Thank you so much. I'll get back in the queue.
Sure.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Pranav from Edelweiss. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for the opportunity and congratulations for excellent FY21. My first question is, you had a fabulous growth, 47% in FY21. A lot of the growth came in from the improvement realization rather than volume. So how should we see FY22 panning out? Because we are now sitting on a slightly higher base in terms of the realization. So what do you think will be the levers for growth? Can we continue to grow at 25-30% rate, or because of the high base it will slow down? And my second question is, good to see this, strong spurt in gross margin. But should we take 22% as a sustainable gross margin, or it will revert back to like 20% what we have seen for the last year as a sustainable gross margin?
Right. Okay, let me start with this. So Pranav, I think if you see normally, I think when we talk about new team, new product offering, like a new acquisition, these are all the new product offering where the margins are much higher than normal traditional A2P SMSs. So we do believe that the kind of investment we made in past and we are doing right now is to make sure that we increase our gross margin. And I think our focus is definitely going to achieve over the 25% plus gross margin in coming quarters. And I think 22% looks like it is very much achievable, and we will focus to grow that in coming days. I think in coming quarters, we'll focus more on RCS, we'll focus more on a WhatsApp solution, we'll focus more on the email solution. Plus, we are having lots of product team, lots of sales team now only been hired to sell new products. And with some of the inorganic acquisition where the gross margin is in the range of 40 to 45%.
Hello.
The conference is now being recorded.
Kind of disproportionately high over the last few years. Now it has stabilized. So volume should stabilize and it should grow on its own organically by 10 to 15% in most geographies that we are functional right now. Pranav, does that answer the query?
Sir, Pranav's line is dropped. We move to the next participant. The next question is from the line of Dipesh Mehta. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. I think for the last question, we missed most of the comment you made. I think there was some issue with the audio. But thanks for giving me opportunity and congrats for very strong FY21 performance. I have few questions. First about if you can help us understand the number of active clients which we added, I think 400 odd which we have mentioned. So now after addition of 410, how many? Yeah, I can hear you. Hello?
Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Am I audible?
Yeah, Dipesh, we can hear you.
Okay, thanks for the opportunity and congrats for very strong FY21 performance. Couple of questions. First about the active client. We added 410 clients, but what would be the active client whom we have billed in FY21, if you can share that number? Second question is about the new product. How much we have covered, let's say, out of that universe for new product related offerings? And how you expect that shape to play out in terms of how we plan to expand our coverage for new product related thing over next couple of years? And so broadly, we are looking from cross-selling and upselling, if you can provide some perspective. Second question is about the impact of, I think you earlier alluded about some rationalization in tail account. So if you can quantify what kind of impact we have seen because of tail account rationalization. Third question which I have is about the Phonon acquisition which we did. If you can share some perspective on it, what kind of profitability it operates, how many clients are likely to be added, what kind of cross-selling opportunities you foresee with that capability acquisition. Thanks.
Sure. So Dipesh, I think your first question was Sorry, I missed.
Number of active clients.
Number of active clients, that's correct. As I think we highlighted, the focus has been to kind of serve quality clients who give us high margins, and there is definitely a lot of room to land and expand. So we have not been focusing largely, from a sales perspective, on the tail clients. So last year in FY21, our active billable clients were 2,300 plus active billable clients. In terms of, I think the numbers for the year prior to that, I think it was about 2,800 plus. So we have consciously kind of not started to focus only on clients, where we see a lot of potential to grow. Otherwise, we have a sales platform. There are clients who come, log in, take the necessary products, services, and consume the services. So that was the first question. Second is in terms of the cross-sell and upsell. So
out of 2,300 for new product, how much coverage already happened, and cross-sell, upsell?
So new products, we have been adding clients to our portfolio every quarter. I think there is a slide which we have already highlighted in the presentation, where quarter on quarter there are instances or clients being added. There are a lot of clients where we are doing POCs. We are trying to demonstrate a unified offering. So that universe will keep expanding on its own. Be it existing clients or newer clients that we kind of get into in terms of newer markets or existing markets, new clients. So that universe, at this point in time, to be very, very honest, even enterprises are trying to experiment with most of the new generation products or next generation of products. They are trying to kind of nibble at one aspect of the product and see how the efficacy is of the other aspects of the product. So it's kind of, at this point in time, it is difficult to kind of put a finger and say that this product in terms of next generation is something which will be the next big winner and will replace SMS, voice, or email in a big way. So from that perspective, we are seeing rapid adoption of next generation of products, from an enterprise standpoint. And the runway for that even is bigger than what the runway for our core business is. That is how we are looking at that opportunity at this point in time. Milind, do you want to add something to this?
Yeah, can I add?
I think just one second. I think, Gautam, just to add, I think we added 74 customer on a new product line last quarter. Milind on phone, and if you can just please.
So Rajiv, just clarifying that 74 customers is across all products.
All products, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I'll try and touch both the answers, both on the phone and the first one, right? So to give, and because you asked a slightly longer horizon question of 2 to 3 years, the way we are looking at is that our product stack is, I would say, by and large complete, right? There would always be one small product to be added, one small channel to be added by and large. But I think if you look at from our offering is completely consolidated to a client, we are seeing large part of our effort from the sales team, whether it's in India, whether it's in Southeast Asia, whether it's in Middle East, or whether it's in Americas region, where our sales teams, our leaders are going and talking about doing multi-channel, multi-product approach on the same client. And we are seeing conversions on the conversations that are happening around that, right? So somebody was buying SMS from me, is also now buying email, is also buying WhatsApp, is also saying, I want to have a unified marketing automation tool, and so on and so forth, right? And this trend we are seeing increasing month on month, quarter on quarter. So that is one clear-cut approach that we are seeing. Upsell, cross-sell to our existing clients, that becomes a large part of our growth and a go-to-market. The second element that we are doing big time on our new product is a very, very strong solution-centering approach. One of our friends asked a question about industries to focus and what areas that we are offering. We have consolidated our offering in 3 core areas to a client's requirement, either in helping them to drive more sales or acquisition or leads or whatever it is based on the category, or help them to engage with their clients or their consumers in a better manner, more on the customer engagement side. And third, with our addition of Phone-on, also starts helping us to help our clients on the customer care or customer service portfolio, right? So our story now is slowly moving from pure omni-channel communication platform to a customer experience platform, thereby helping our clients in one of these three or all the three of the solutions that the client typically desires from its own consumer experience perspective. And that is a focus for the next 3 to 5 years as we crystal ball gaze into the future. Coming specifically on the question on Phonon, Phonon is fundamentally if I can call it, a communications automation platform. It has got a fantastic UI visual flow builder for somebody who wants to onboard a voice for its own use case, be it a contact center, be it for simple outbound calling, be it a simple IVR, and whatever may be the case. So it fits beautifully in our vision to emerge a very strong customer experience platform for our clients, and that's a massive addition there. We have covered the stack completely from contact center automation up to voice bots, to click to calls, to intelligent IVRs, and so on and so forth, right? And that stack is by and large complete. We now are synergizing between the Phonon team to ensure that is upsell cross-sell with their customer base and our customer base. If you look at some of the segments that Phonon works today, somebody had asked the question on the sector. They are de facto leader in Indian aviation and hospitality industry. 7 out of the 10 travelers in India, they are informed by the schedule change or any communication on the airline with the Phonon platform. That's a huge market share. And 4 of the top 5 airlines are their clients. And we want to continue deepen that relationship further by offering more products and more channels to this customer base. And same is their strength on the BFSI side. Be it Citi, be it Amex, be it ICICI, be it Reliance, be it Yes Bank, HDFC Life, and so on and so forth. They have a huge plethora of banking customers, which becomes a natural fit to us, as well as an opportunity for them to upsell some of our products and for us to upsell some of their products as a proven financial segment BFSI player to some of our existing banking partners, right? So we believe it's a very strong synergistic relationship that will help us drive deep customer experience platform as a service for our clients. I hope that answers both the questions that you had on that.
Yeah, I think a couple of things remain to be answered. First is about the number of clients which we acquired, and then their margin profile kind of thing, which I am not very sure about because it should be high margin, but if you can provide some perspective.
Is this question related to Phonon or is this question?
Yes, Phonon.
So Phonon, Gautam, you want to pick that up or should I?
Yeah, sure. So Dipesh, in terms of margins, the company does, gross margins northwards of 45-50%. Sometimes it even reaches to 60%. Traditionally, this company, is a Baroda-based company, and we believe, I think the product has a lot of potential to kind of take it to pan India, to across the globe. When we acquired it, I think they were doing about close to little less than $2 million in terms of revenue with a 20+ EBITDA margin. So we would intend to kind of get in the benefits of Route Mobile synergy across various geographies and help the platform expand into a lot more enterprises globally. So they serve a lot of, as Milind highlighted, a lot of travel and aviation companies in India. They serve a lot of banks in India, including one of the largest private sector banks in the country, where their processes are deeply embedded across all facets of communication on the voice stack. From that private lender perspective. So it's a proven platform. Widely tested by most enterprises in India, and through the synergies of Route Mobile, we believe we can take this platform to the world.
Understood. Thank you. Maybe I can join in the queue. Thanks.
Sure.
Thank you very much. A request to all the participants, please restrict to 2 questions per participant. If time permits, please come back in the question queue for a follow-up question. The next question is from the line of Vimal Goyal from Union Asset Management. Please go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity, sir. I hope I'm audible.
Yeah, hi.
Hi. Just firstly, clarification on two things. One is when you say that you expect 20% revenue growth in FY22, this will be excluding Fonon, or this is pure, this will include the inorganic initiatives? That
will be a very small contribution, but we are only talking about organic here.
Okay, so 20% is purely organic.
That's correct.
Okay, fair enough. And sir, could you help me with, I know the contribution is very small, but could you help me with your revenues from that call center initiative that we have?
So the call center business, it was impacted because of the pandemic. So last year, in FY21, we did about 24.9 crores in terms of revenue.
How much? Sorry?
24.9 crores.
Okay. 24.9 crores for the full year. Fair enough. Fair enough. And I just missed out on this pricing and gross margin. I think what is in terms of gross margins, this 22%, will it be sustainable going forward, or how should we think about it? And probably you can answer from.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I just wanted to get a perspective on this. How does deploying a firewall with a telco, improve our gross margins for any client? Just wanted to get an update on that.
Okay, sure. So in terms of gross margins, this quarter, vis-a-vis Q3 FY21, this quarter has been a revelation, and the reason for that was in Q3 FY21, there was a structural change in the industry, especially in India, where blockchain as a platform or DLT as a platform was implemented. So we used that as an opportunity to kind of get our platforms integrated with a lot of new clients. Now, in the subsequent quarters, so we in Q3 FY21, we had taken some amount of DLT hit onto our P&L, and that was the one reason why the gross margins had contracted in Q3 FY21. In Q4 FY21, we were able to pass through a lot of this increase in the DLT charges to the clients, thereby restoring back the gross margins and even expanding it further to 22%. On a sustainable basis, with the current mix in terms of products, we believe 21-22% gross margin is steady state. However, with the new products increasing its presence within the portfolio, we will witness some gross margin expansion gradually over the next few quarters.
I think just to add on this firewall offering as well, the firewall is a complete SaaS solution which we offer to operator. Okay, and that is something where we do a revenue share based on the volume generated through a firewall. So I think that is a complete different model we have for operator, which is completely a SaaS model.
Fair enough. So would it be fair to say that the entire gross margin improvement that you've seen in this particular quarter will be because of your recovery from the DTL related losses that we saw in the previous quarter?
So you can say that, but apart from that also, as we say, in coming quarters, we are going to focus more on the new product offering and new product portfolio. And those product portfolio, as Gautam just mentioned, like all the Fonon product has almost 45 to 60% margin ratio. And if you talk about WhatsApp, Viber, or voice solution or email solution, where the margin is higher in terms of 30 to 40% range. So as our in coming quarters, the revenue from this new product offering will increase. We will definitely see this increase in the gross margin as well. On a sustainable basis, you are right. We will definitely be between 21 to 22% plus only.
Got it. Fine. Fair enough, sir. I think I'll come back in the queue for more questions. Thank you so much and all the best.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Manik Taneja from JM Financial. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. Just wanted to pick your brains regarding the competitive intensity in the space now. Given some of the telcos have launched their own operations, you've seen some of the global players make acquisitions of India-oriented assets. So that's question number one. The second thing is that should the right understanding around our marketing efforts or expansion efforts in developed markets should the understanding be that now we are well prepared from our technology product stack standpoint, and it would now depend about, it would be more about expanding market coverage to get into customers? Thank you.
So Manik, hi, Rajdeep here. I'll answer your first question and probably Gautam can answer the second one. In terms of all these international players coming to India, but as you know, almost all these international players, they use our connectivity not only for India but various other part of the Africa, India and Asia with Route Mobile. So there is one set of revenue which in our portfolio which is aggregator revenue. Apart from that, if you talk about the competition in India, I think all these companies who've been acquired by these international players, we always used to compete with them in past also. So we don't see any challenges as such. It's the same competition for us. So in fact, if you talk about our market share in India is about 10 to between I think about 10%. I think we have a lot to gain than lose in this market as we speak, right?
Okay.
Gautam, second question if you just answer.
Yeah, Manik. So I think in terms of the marketing effort, you are absolutely right. At this point in time, the immediate focus of the company is to have as many products in our repertoire. Through organic or inorganic route, we are trying to pursue that. And we believe, at this point in time, we have a very comprehensive stack which can be offered to enterprises not only in India but across the globe. And hence we have started to invest into, having more feet on the street in various markets. So we are doing micro analysis across various geographies and where we need to kind of focus our time and energy. Just to give you some stats, last 2 years rather, we have focused significantly in some of the adjoining markets in India, like Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, and some of the outputs that we are getting from those markets in terms of the results. That's really praiseworthy, and we kind of are looking at further investing into some markets and following similar principles into some of the Western markets. And with John now at the helm of things, I'm sure we will be able to kind of add on to the acceleration that we have been doing historically.
Sure. Thank you. All the best for the future.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Madhu Babu from Canara Robeco HSBC. Please go ahead. Madhu Babu, may I request to unmute your line from your side and go ahead with your question?
Yeah. Hi, sir. So just on the geographic mix, can you break up the mix for this quarter? And how is the pricing in each of the key markets for us?
So I think we already have a slide on that in the presentation. Because of confidentiality, we don't share it in the public forum. But I think we have given you a flavor of that in slide number 10, rather. 1 second. Slide number 12. Where you get a flavor of, almost 86% of the revenue, that 83% of the total revenue in FY21. You get a split of various regions. Right from APAC, Middle East, Africa, and Latin. These are the three strong footholds of Route Mobile at this point in time.
Okay. And sir, on the second wave, how has that impacted the volumes over the last 2 months? And John, congrats on the new role. And so how would be the gestation to land the new clients in some of these developed markets like UK and all that? Thanks.
Yeah. So I'll try and address the second question, and then maybe Rajdeep or John, and then you can take up the third one. So in terms of the new, some of the large clients, be it some cab aggregator clients or internet and social media companies, some of these companies, they were sending quite a bit of traffic to some of these Latin markets. And because of the second wave of pandemic, a lot of those industries were impacted, and hence the volumes were affected.
Yeah, can you just repeat the second question?
Second was on the gestation on the, to land in a new client in developed market.
Right. Good question. See, it all depends on the kind of customer, the kind of product offering they are looking at right now. Like if you talk about the digital adoption, I think there are various aspects of a digital adoption. So we as a company now focus as a complete product offering to any customer who's looking out as a digital adoption as a part of their customer engagement. So it all depends, 1 month to 6 months also, but it all depends how tech savvy the company is. But because of this COVID situation, most of the enterprises have been forced to adopt this kind of digital acceleration in a faster way. Like if I just give you a simple example, we used to work with few customers in past. They used to take about 6 months, like to just do a POC. But now because of the COVID, the same customer is doing the POC in 3 weeks. In fact, there's an urgency we see from the enterprise side to adopt the digital platform rather than we actually going and trying to sell or do lots of follow-up, So that's a big change we have seen in the market in last few quarters.
Okay, I'll just try and kind of address. Rajiv, I think the question was around John and how long will,
Okay, sorry.
Strategy.
So if John can answer.
Yeah, sure. Sorry.
Yeah, I love being on a pipeline call straight away, so thank you. I think in fairness, there's no excuses. It depends as long as the customer wants to buy. And what I mean by that is it could be 2 weeks, it could be 2 months. It's certainly not a 6 to 9 month sales cycle. It's more transactional. I think where we are at the moment, it's about increasing our coverage model. So direct selling is labor intensive and it's expensive. What we need to do, and we've traditionally been a direct sales model, we now need to complement that to increase our coverage by selling through channels and selling with development partners so we get a better coverage and our solutions get embedded into other people's channel strategy. So the key isn't about when the first sale is. The key is about building momentum in the revenue line, and that revenue line reflects the geographic markets we want to serve, the product mix we want to sell strategically, because that's going to give us the better margin contribution. And the more investment we put into those channels, the more we'll be able to leverage the cost base, which drives gross margin. So I think they're all interlinked, and I'm not being evasive, but it isn't just about selling, it's about changing our channel mix from a very direct mobile centric solution, which is our heritage and we're really good at it and we can compete, into more a value added enterprise SaaS type provider, which is where our long term both revenue security and margin security will be. So hopefully that answers it. But we could sell something in the next week, we could sell something in the next 2 months. I would be disappointed if we're still having this conversation in 3 months. Does that help answer? So I'm optimistic. The basic is I'm optimistic.
So the line for the participant dropped. We move on to the next participant. The next question is from the line of Manish Poddar from Nippon India. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for taking the call. Just 2 questions. First is, if you could probably talk about what has happened to other income during this quarter.
Manish, can you repeat the query, please?
So, I'm trying to understand why the other income grew during this quarter.
So sorry to interrupt, your audio is not clear at all. Hello, Manish.
Yeah, is this better? Hello?
Yeah, this is much better.
Sorry. Yeah. So just wanted to understand why growth during this quarter?
Why is no growth?
The other income. If you look at the other income in the last quarter, was roughly about 8.5 odd crores. This quarter, the other income is, negative about 60 odd lakhs. So just wanted to understand what has happened there.
It's largely to do with the translation losses. Foreign currency translation loss and all. Some of the currencies, I think in the European Union and UK, so GBP, Euro, I think there was a wild swing, I think, in those currencies, which resulted in. So on an overall full year basis, if you look at it, other income is about 50 odd crores.
And would you be able to quantify the amount of the exchange loss during this quarter?
1 second. Manish, if you have any other queries, you can ask. I mean, I'll answer.
Okay. So the last one from my side is that when you mentioned that gross margins improve from here on, given, let's say, the new product mix and led by you, not really focusing on the tail clients much. So you allude to the full year gross margins or to the quarter four gross margins? Thanks.
No, I think better to focus full year basis only. Yeah, better to focus on full year basis only. But I think if we achieve quarter on quarter, then only we can give the guidance of full year, right?
No, because the numbers there itself is 100 bips kind of a difference. So let's say, because you mentioned the margin band about 21, 22, but let's say this quarter itself you're in the higher end of that band. So should one look at really this margin, let's say, inching up, let's say, directionally from here on, from 20 to, let's say, 22, 23, somewhere in that park, or should one look at the full year numbers? That is where I was coming across.
The share of new products increasing, definitely there is room for this margins to improve. But on a steady state basis, at this point in time with the current product mix, 21-22% looks achievable. I mean, we should be able to easily achieve the 21-22% gross margin.
And sorry, just want to understand the definition. When you say new products, what all does that include? That's it. Thank you.
So new products will include anything outside of SMS at this point in time, because SMS was the significant part of our revenue. Now everything, I mean, from IP messaging to voice to email is a part of the new products.
Okay, great. If you could help me just with the other income, that'll be helpful. Thank you.
So net loss on foreign currency transactions and translation was 4.5 crores in Q4 FY21.
So that seems to be still low, because let's say even if you average out the cash expenses, cash on book is about 400-450 odd crores, and the yield which you're getting up here is really low then.
So I mean, what we are getting, I mean, I've done the math, it's around 3 to 4% only.
Okay, it's due to the averaging. Got it. Great.
Yeah, that's right.
Got it. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Pranav Mehta from Value Quest Investments. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Congratulations on a good performance in FY21.
Sorry to interrupt you. Can I request you to speak a little louder?
Yeah, is this better now?
Little better, yes. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Congratulations on a good performance in FY21. Just a couple of questions. So on our inorganic strategy, so obviously we have announced one acquisition of Phonon, but if I'm not wrong, I thought there are one or two more deals in the pipeline. So if you can just give an update on that, and by when can we expect further action on this front? Secondly, so the growth that we have achieved in this year, the top line growth of almost 47%. If you can just quantify how much was organic growth, because we had done an acquisition of TeleDNA during the year, so that would just be helpful in understanding the organic growth trajectory. Yes.
So I think TeleDNA's contribution would be in single, digits. So to that extent, I mean, the entire growth is organic. So TeleDNA was more an acquisition to bolster our operator stack, more than to kind of look into, the revenue aspect of it. But having said that, it is about 7-8 crores of revenue that we garnered from TeleDNA's contracts, which essentially were which essentially were contracts that they were servicing to 365 Squared. So it was kind of a backward integration for us. Sorry, Pranav, what was the first question? I just missed that.
On the acquisitions.
Yeah. So, these are difficult times, from all standpoint, even from doing virtual deals. We are actively working on a few acquisitions at this point in time, but to kind of give specific timelines will be difficult, but the endeavor would be to close, some of the acquisitions sooner than later.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Varun Goenka from Nippon Life India Asset Management. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you for getting me back. So I think there was a comment made that we will continue to grow at 20%. So I just want to delve there deeper. I know it's a conservative stance, but the industry itself is growing at 25-30% in India or globally. So I think our endeavor should be at least 1.5 times or something of that industry growth. So my question is, what is the key challenges that we think, let's say top 5 challenges to scaling up growth organically, onboarding, let's say, large customers or mining existing customers? What do you think is our top 4 or 5 challenges that we face on a day-to-day basis?
So, Varun, Rajit here. I think we don't see as a challenge. When you talk about a platform, I think we are ready, and I think my platform can handle any kind of customer. Okay.
Right.
And we are already serving some of the large giant figure of US, But again, at this point in time, in terms of platform capabilities, we as a company are, I think, far better and very well matured at this point of time. I think we can serve any customer, you name it, right now. Okay. When we give a guidance of 20%, I think it's a. Gautam, if you want to add on this guidance.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, Varun, I mean, we met, I think, during the IPO as well. I mean, at that point in time also, we were guiding about 20-25%, but we have achieved 47%. So I'm
right.
I mean, the only limited submission in this is, I think we are in unprecedented times right now. I mean, we want to be conservative in our approach. I mean, and kind of outperform in terms of the final results. But I mean, at this point in time, we can tell you, I mean, 20% is not the internal guidance that we are working with.
Of course.
I mean, it's a much higher number that we are working with.
Absolutely. That's all I wanted to hear. I understand that you're being conservative, but
Varun, Rajit here. Just wanted to tell you one thing. I think based on our current pipeline, the kind of customers we are working on, I think we will definitely overachieve our numbers. Okay,
sure.
But right now, the situation, the current scenario is also causing little bit question. I think based on that, what guidance we are giving, which is very easily achievable for us.
Absolutely. So my second question is related to that. What are the kind of technical challenges that you might be facing for customers to switch from an existing vendor to you? For example, WhatsApp for Business has this mobile number portability issue that customers cannot switch. Or, even if we have to go. Yeah.
So I think that is going to change very soon from WhatsApp, and we are just waiting for that announcement to be done. Once that is done, probably we'll have more opportunity to gain.
Sure. That's. So just a final point in terms of our technical capability. So every company that you maybe benchmark to or are competing with, let's say Twilio or Infobip or anybody, is trying to get into a full stack solution, having voice, email, etc. How do we measure our technical platform capability? I mean, whom do we really look up to audit us internally, and so that we can measure. So what are the key quality KPIs? It could be latency, it could be downtime. I mean, I know very little, but where are we there in terms of capability?
I got your question. I think almost all the names which you have just shared with us, they use my platform somewhere somehow. So I think in terms of platform capabilities, I think my platform is as good as what theirs are. Like in terms of benchmarking, if we talk about, we talk about tier 1 and messaging aggregators in the world. So tier 1, if you see Roko's report, so we are always there in top 5, right? So what we are trying to say that we don't want to get compared ourselves with anyone in the market. I don't want to make sure that I'm getting compared with X or Y. Whatever we are capable enough to make sure we give the same kind of services to any enterprise customer what they are getting from others. Maybe at the tier 1 aggregators, right? So in terms of our platform capabilities, and these players also use my connectivity in various parts of the world. And sometimes we use them as well, right? So I don't see there's when you talk about the complete stack, I think Route Mobile is also spend lots of time, energy and money from last 2 years to make sure we have all the stack within one platform as a one single API solution offering to our enterprise customers. And I think we have achieved that. and we are serving customer on WhatsApp, Viber, Facebook Messenger, email, voice, or you say SMS, right?
Right. No, perfect. So I've been attending all your product webinars by Alec, and it looks amazing. I mean,
Thanks.
So YouTube has all the things. Right. Just a final point. Any particular R&D investment that we have a 70-member tech team. So what is the kind of R&D spend or something that we will sustain, or do we need to continue this brilliant work that we're doing?
So I think from a CPaaS to CXPaaS to SaaS is something which we need to look for Route Mobile in coming years, right? And definitely we are going to put more investment in R&D, which is going to be the key for RML growth. And we are already investing, I don't know if Gautam has a number in terms of last hiring we have done in last quarter. Gautam, if you can just add to this.
Yeah. So, last year we've hired about 91 odd employees, out of which a significant part of that is technical background.
Yeah. And we are still hiring. In fact. Yeah.
Fantastic. That's all.
Also add, if I can just add to what Rajiv said.
Yeah.
So from our core platform, right? Core platform is already evolved, and as Rajiv said, it is already at par, if not better than most global platforms that you come across, and that is kind of getting aptly demonstrated in the high recurring revenue and the net revenue retention that we have articulated in the presentation. I think if you look at any other large CPaaS companies, again, they have all done a lot of acquisitions, and now they are integrating all the platforms to create a unified play. So we are also kind of building newer products in-house. We are doing few acquisitions to augment our product mix. So a lot of this R&D will orient around the integrations of some of these platforms that we'll be doing to create a unified play to drive better analytics, better ROI from an enterprise standpoint. So from that perspective, the R&D spend, will start inching up, from this financial year onwards, where we have already done one acquisition. We are looking at doing a few more to augment the product capabilities and then integrate into a unified platform. So, at this point in time, about 2% of our revenue, we have already internally earmarked towards R&D spend, besides the acquisition cost that we will be incurring.
Yeah. Thank you. Great to hear. Best wishes, and just keep doing what you guys are doing. Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks, Arun.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, due to time constraint, that will be the last question for today. I will now hand the conference over to Mr. Hardik Sangani for closing comments.
Hey, thank you everyone for joining the call. And we appreciate Route Mobile giving us the opportunity for hosting their Q4 earnings call. Now I hand over the call for the management for their closing comments.
Yeah, I think just wanted to say thanks to everyone, and we as a company are going to focus more on a new product line and new offering, and we're looking forward to make sure we increase our gross margin. And for Route Mobile, I think that this financial year is going to focus more on a gross margin growth. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. On behalf of ICICI Securities Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us. You may now disconnect your lines. Thank you.
Thank you.